My name is Nigel Vagana. Many moons ago, I sort of played professional league, 13, 14 years, running around on the field there and spent a bit of time in different parts of the world. I was pretty blessed to be able to do it. And then after I finished playing, I sort of worked behind the scenes in the NRL in the wellbeing space for about 10 years. So I sort of jumped out a couple of years ago and having a bit of me time at the moment, and doing some other little projects and bits and pieces now. But my mate over here took over.
Talofa, kia ora, my name is Rugby League. I was born and raised in Otara. A bit like Nigel, played ex-player, played in the NRL and also in England comp Super League. After footy, got 5 kids, so yeah, got to look after them, but also dabbled in a bit of youth work, and also with the help of Nigel, got into the wellbeing space.
I think one of the big sort of challenges is a lot of people don't understand the system behind the scenes, and they only sort of judge it on what's in front of the camera or what they see on TV. And I guess it used to be when everyone was on TV, I guess the family just thought you're all millionaires, you all got money to burn. So let's ring up for some new wheels. Let's ring up to help with the wedding, fight love lovers, all this sort of stuff, And I think that's a big misconception that puts a lot of our athletes and a lot of the, not just the young ones too, even the older ones, that puts them in a position where they're kind of stuck in the middle of 2 different worlds and trying to navigate their way through. So it can be pretty tough, and still a work in progress now. And even guys now, they might be like the top guys will get, I don't know, they probably get $1 million a year, whatever it is. But you got to work for many, many years to even get into a point where you can actually start doing it full time and earning it as a living, right, in a full time squad. A lot of these young guys, maybe at 14, they might not get until 20, 21, 22. That's if you're lucky, right? So it can be quite tricky navigating. But I guess when we were coming through, it was a bit different. But the systems were a bit different, but it was the same mentality that was, I guess, helping us and hindering us.
Yeah, definitely what Nigel was saying, it is added pressure, and it comes with, you're born into our Pasifika families, and it's part of it. I guess there's a balance too, but also I think the goal is hopefully to have some understanding around finances and obviously education around it as before you come in, hopefully. Probably that's a question that you can ask the managers or the agents to help out, but also, in our school systems, that we need to be taught that. I think, as Pasifika, we value our families, so that's why I think it is a bit of a burden to us when money comes in. We're always trying to support and help our families, but I guess for the support worker, just I think give them opportunity to kind of do their mahi first, I guess. I know straight away, man, even when you get a academy, development contract, the family's all on them straight away, social media and all that. So I think for them, just let them flourish first, and then hopefully, I think the finances can come in. But yeah,
well, because a lot of our families, or a lot of our people come from a communal mentality, right? So, if you come, if you're on the marae, you're in the village or wherever you are, there's some shoes there, you need some shoes, you can borrow those shoes. You know what I mean? It's like everyone just shares everything. So when you come into an environment where, someone's got some new training gear because they made an academy, now the uncle's got new training gear, the auntie's got new training gear, the whole family's got new training gear. But if the kid, and we've seen it happen a lot, when the kids go back to training and they don't have the gear, you get fined or potentially get cut. Right, because it shows because they might think, well, listen, you're not disciplined enough to look after it. You've given it away, whatever reason, right? So then that actually compromises that individual's opportunity. But the family don't know it, don't realize it. But the kid is in a position where he knows he's got to wear certain clothes to training. But if his uncle says something, or mum says something, or dad says something, and they go, listen, I like your shirt, Uncle Ali's going back to Samoa to do match fit, he needs a shirt, then it's like, well, you better give it to Uncle Ali, you know what I mean? So it's like, and the kid, he might be 16 going, Uncle looked after me when I was little, or helped me, so yep, there you go. So he would actually risk that opportunity to stay connected to the culture and the cultural values that we grew up in. And I think that's a big sort of crossing point between a lot of our Pacific athletes, coming through, whether it's league or other sports, because you get sort of asked to sort of survive in an individual sort of individual world or flourish in an individual world, but you come from a communal background, so how do you actually define which is which, and when do you go this way and that way, so it is pretty tricky. And like I said, it's for the, like we were sort of coming towards the back end of our careers, and in our sort of late 20s and 30s, we were still going through it. We still had to go through it. So imagine a 16-year-old trying to work it out, can be pretty tough.
I think for me, going over, and I definitely agree with what Nigel's saying. It is a whole different world out there. So I guess you got to embrace that culture too. I think when we go over to new surroundings, and sometimes we get homesick real fast because there's things always reminding us of home and all that. But I think if you can go over with a friend or a partner or whatever, but also make yourself comfortable straight away and try and embrace the culture there. Learn new things, I guess. I think that's what kind of worked for me, because when I left to go to England, I never thought I was going to live in England. I think probably the saving grace for me was my wife there. I thought I was only going to spend 6 months there and then come back. But I think you definitely got to give it a go. I've learned definitely to grow up fast. I had my kids over there, 5 kids. I had 4 of my kids over there, so definitely had to grow up not only as a player but also as a parent, as an adult. And just learning new things. Got to do my own washing and all that kind of stuff. So there's heaps of learnings, not only football-wise but also just as growing up, I guess.
And he had to learn that when he was 25, right? He's doing his own washing, he can't go over here and stuff, right? But that's, it's sort of, I think, like Ali said, it's just about being open, because, we want our kids to have the opportunity. Like we were pretty lucky enough to sort of get the opportunity to sort of go through a world that we never knew existed. I grew up in Greyland, and, all I wanted to do was just play for the local team at 2:30 down at Richmond. On a Saturday afternoon, that was it. And if I'd sort of got that far, I'm all right. And when I sort of come into the environment and they sort of offered me the chance to jump into some academies and stuff, when I was about, I don't know, maybe 18 or 17 or something like that. First thing I asked for was a tracksuit. Do I get a tracksuit? Because if we can get a tracksuit, we're all good. We're in the positives. And then anything else was a bonus. So going on planes and hotels and all that sort of stuff was a different world for us. But I think it allowed us to sort of see the big wide world, and our parents come over from the islands to sort of give us an opportunity to sort of live a bit differently, get educated, do all these different things in life, and we want the same for the next generation as well. So it's sort of how can we sort of help, I guess, nurture them and give them some tips potentially, and not just them, their families, because usually when one succeeds, you all succeed, and how can we sort of help the whole family sort of be proud of the individual and the athletes, and then hopefully raise the bar for the next level, or next generation.
Definitely good listening skills.
Listen. I think time management is probably a good one. And we used to say to kids, we do sort of like rookie camps and all that sort of stuff, and we're talking to some of the young ones, and we'd say to them, if you're late to class at school, then you're setting up a habit to be late to training, right? And if you go late to training, you're not going to be in the environment long. So practice being on time. If you can't listen to your teacher, you're going to struggle listening to your coach. It's the same skills. Right? I only said listening. So a lot of those skills that you learn at school, and for a lot of, I guess, athletes that have aspirations, they can't wait to leave school. They just want to get in and out. But there's actually a lot of stuff that you learn at school that you actually need in the next step. So for me, it's probably understanding that sort of stuff and making the most of it. You'll see guys, like Liva Havili, Liva was a head boy at St. Paul's, he was Ducks, So you've got guys who are like, the head boys or the head girls at their schools. They've got all those attributes, so when they go on, they're still in the system and they're sort of benefiting from it. Because if you try and learn it when you get there, it's too late. If you've got to learn how to wake up and go to training on time, and you've already got a deal at the Titans or, wherever, it's too late by then. And it's an opportunity, again, that we actually want our kids to make the most of any opportunity that comes their way, So
definitely that discipline. But I guess going into rugby league or any professional sports, I think you need a backup plan, and I think that's where especially at the back end of my career was a bit different because I didn't really plan, and so that's where the pressures and also anxiety kicks in, a bit of mental health. So I definitely encourage having a backup plan. So it could be if it's going down that study or even a trade, and that's what we encourage. Man, our Pasifika Māori kids are real talented. So yeah, use their talents. There's all different music, whatever. You got one of the Chanel Tavita Harris. He's a blog writer. He did a business study degree. So stuff like that. He can kind of have a year off now because he's put things in place. I think that's what our kids need now, especially with the pressures of life, injury, non-selection. So all those things can hinder you and also play a big part. So definitely be ready for not only footy but life after footy.
Yeah. We had this term that we used to use. I don't know if these guys are still using it, where you don't have a plan B, you have two plan A's. So we know what one is, it's to be on TV and you're running, playing NRL, whatever it is. But what's your other plan A? What's your other dream? And then we try and sort of help nurture that one. Remember a few years ago, one of the boys was cutting hair and stuff like that. So we got him a small business, got him into doing the course, understood about it, and opened up barbershops while he was still playing. And then he's got a little business that he's looking after as well as trying to sort of, enjoy the environment. So when he's finished, he's got something to do if he gets injured or the family are looked after, you got bills to pay, all that sort of stuff. So, and it's something that he loves too, So it's just things like that. Well, first of all, it's defining support, right? So it's like, your parents, your immediate family, your extended family, your friends, school friends and what have you. How do they sort of support you on your journey? We try and put, because when we're sort of doing our sort of, or we're doing that work, we didn't get an opportunity to sort of be around the friends as much. The parents would bring them in every now and then where we could. Some of them were living out of town, overseas, all that sort of stuff. So logistically, it was a bit challenging. But I think the big one, from a parent's perspective or from a family's perspective, is if you continue to sort of let your son or your daughter know that you're proud of them, then regardless of the journey and what happens, they won't feel isolated if they don't get picked in the team, or they have a bad year and they don't get a contract, and then maybe 2 years later they might get one, or they might get an injury and not play again, But I think a lot of it sort of has come down, and we all love our kids and all the rest of it, and it's like how do you actually show that, how do you communicate that, because our sort of people, we sort of have quite, well, in the Pacific, we have quite strict, or can be quite strict lines of communication. Only the older brother talks, and he talks for all of us kids, and I'm like, I don't want the ice cream, I want the noodles, you know what I mean? But it's like, oh man, because he said, no, we all have to, because that's our communication lines, right? Or dad and his brothers, whenever you go to a village, the high chief talks, and and that's it, so and it's embedded in us culturally, right? When only certain people talk, other people sing, and that's it. But when you go into this environment, you've got to sort of try and understand how to break out of that as a family unit and just continue to support, your child and whatever their sort of dreams are, I guess, and their challenges, because it can be quite tricky. And the last thing we want is for them to feel isolated if something goes wrong, that they don't have that support network there. You hear people talking about day ones now all the time, and it's a common term. And you're always going to have those people, but as you continue on the journey, your friend group gets bigger, your support group, and those phone calls get bigger, and all the rest of it. That's why Ali went to England. Oh, did you say that? Oh, no, but it's like, so you got to make sure, well, who's who, because it can be quite hard too, and you don't want to be rude about it, but you also know, okay, these are the ones that, almost like your inner circle type of group that will always be there and help you through, because it's not everyone makes it. The reality is not everyone, and it's a pretty hard environment to get into, and I played with guys that were a lot better than me that didn't get into it because of some of the decisions they made along the way on their journey, and we all have, but it's like it's a pretty tough gig to get into, so you got to be quite resilient, and the families as well have to be have to understand that resilience as well. You know, I think.
Yeah, I think it's also important for the player, or to know who their support is anyway. Sometimes they could be talking to anyone and everyone, especially social media now. So I think, know who your support is and trust them, I guess. And I definitely, I'm not talking for all the managers, but there is some managers that don't do their job, but also there is good managers too. So, and also knowing what you're signing, especially the support, the support person. I know it's ideal for our parents and also some of our family members to be educated and also to learn stuff, but it's hard, especially in our Pasifika. They don't have the luxury to do that. So I think, it's if it's not your parents or close relative, use someone that you trust, but probably know them first. I guess get to know them first.
Sometimes the parents are the problem. True. Not talking about anyone in this room, but no, but because sometimes they sort of, they're a big challenge. So an uncle or an auntie or an older brother becomes that key support person. And the individual knows. It's different for everyone, but I don't think you need one under 16, 17, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And a lot of the challenges that I've come across in that space, especially with the 14, 15, 16-year-old age group, is when one gets one, then the others think they have to. And they feel like, oh no, they're falling behind because so-and-so is going on. So so-and-so tells his agent or her agent, then they get this one in, and then they get the other one in, and the others, and they end up pooling them, And I think it's sort of, because there's a whole heap of guys. I played NRL with a guy who'd never, his first game of league was, he was 18 years old. His first ever game. So if you've been identified at 14 and you've had a 4-year head start on them, there's still guys that will come in and make it be ahead of you, right? Or potentially. So I think a lot of that is, I know there are people out there that will sort of say otherwise, but I think it's probably about asking questions as well. Because, it works for some, but not all. And I think it's an individual sort of journey. But if you ask the questions, you can actually work out whether it's best for you or not, or whether it suits you or not. Because at the end of the day, what do you really know at 14, really? Or 15, you know what I mean? Otherwise, this guy would have got signed at 11. You know what I mean? Because he was the same size. But you just never know. And it's sort of it's a tricky one. But I don't think you've got to be pretty special. But at the same time, everyone thinks they're special too. So it's like, oh man, another Ali Lauitiiti.
Unless if you're a football player, Nah.
Well, the soccer boys, they're quite young.
Yeah,
they get quite young. And there's some. We actually did some work with some a little while ago over in the UK, and because they can recruit from 9 years old, right? And it's pretty. But for a lot of them, if you get to 16, and they don't think that you're EPL like quality, like Premier League, right? If they don't think you're at that level yet, then you're pretty much, you might go to a second or third division club and sort of continue on there. But you've been in an environment since you were 9, It's tough for a lot of those 17-year-olds that don't go further because they were like the big stars and stuff, and they're only 17 trying to handle it, So it is quite a, our environment's not like that, but it's sort of a similar mentality where it's quite brutal, which I guess comes back to those support networks, because if you've got an agent chasing you, you've got someone to ask questions about. You've got, your uncle or your mum or your dad or whoever, or family friend, and they can sort of help guide you through that journey, I guess, in the early stages.
I guess you got to look at the pressures, like when you're like 14, 15, 16, you're going to school, you're doing schoolwork, all that pressure, added pressure, you're still growing as a youth. Do you want them to have a childhood, and just to kind of live life, experience life? And that's added pressure, I guess. And I know it's, it's not for everyone, but definitely those are the things that you have to think of, especially as a parent. Because they're still younger and they're still growing. So why would you add the extra pressure from giving them because once you give them a manager or agent, then that's expectations straight away is there, eh? So that's more pressure, and definitely we understand now mental health and how prevalent it is, around with our communities now. So that's just another thing that another added pressure that they need, I guess.
From what we found in our environment and what we've seen in our environment, the ones that come through the system are the ones that have had childhoods, you go play, kikiki in summer, you go and sort of, whatever, muck around, with the netball or whatever, and they actually sort of, hang out with their cousins, hang out with your friends, they sort of live like that because you're actually building up a lot of different skill sets in amongst it. So when you actually do decide, I might try and give this a crack, you actually really know it as opposed to being pushed at 13, 14. By the time you get to 16, 17, you're over it, So from what we've seen, most of the guys that come through the environment are ones that sort of do a lot of different things. Music, whatever it is. So we keep coming back to the support network, right? Because if, for the most part, if someone approaches you to be an agent, you're only like, you might be 16, 17, 18, or even younger. So how do you actually decide what to look for and what to ask? And we used to try and encourage and put a lot of that ownership on the parents, but then you realize the parents aren't familiar with this environment too. Some of them are, but I think it's we set up some, or I don't know if they still got it, where there's some questionnaires online. It's like 10 questions, and you can get it from the NRL or New Zealand League websites or wherever it is. And you basically just ask those questions. Number one, number two, like it's pretty straightforward. But what it does, it actually gives you an understanding of the person who's trying to recruit you or the agent, and it gives you and your family an understanding, or you and your support system or network an understanding of what this person wants out of you, what the commitment is, all that sort of stuff. And if it's not for you, it's not for you, but it helps you decide. Again, it's everyone's individual in that space. Some people, agents really help them. Others, agents really don't help them, But if you've had those questions and you sort of made a decision based on what you think is best for you and your sort of, your child, I guess, that's probably the best you can do, I think, And then don't sign, if you do end up signing, you can just sign for 12 months or 6 months and just to try it out. So, I'm not sure if it's one of those questions on there. I haven't looked for a while, but you can say, okay, listen, let's just run this for 6 months or one season, see how we go, and that gives you an opportunity to test out the relationship. Okay, sweet, let's go for another year, whatever it is, So I think for a lot of us, Pacific, Māori sort of kids and families that are coming through this environment, we get a bit too scared to ask those questions because we feel like we shouldn't be, or we don't deserve to be, or we're not at that same level. If someone's coming over and they've got their logo on and they're talking about this and could put you in this club and give you this and that, they're selling you the dream, right? So it's like, if we think, oh, this person must know a lot more about it than we do. Oh yeah, I don't want to ask that question. I will look stupid. It's just like the kids in class, they want to put up their hand, but they already kind of know the questions you'd be asked. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible, but it's still a challenge.
Yeah, I'm definitely for Nigel. You have to ask, you got to pretty much ask them whatever question you want, because they will answer if they want you. And just make sure, I was just referring at the website because you got to be accredited to be an NRL agent. And so you got to check that, and then I'll tell you anyway. So, but yeah, definitely do your homework, ask around or ask friends and family that have been through it. So yeah.
There's a lot more information online, and I'm going to put Ali's email at the bottom of the screen there. You can email Ali at New Zealand League. So.
Yeah, jump on the NRL website, yeah.
No, but it's like, there is stuff online, and like that's an easy one, like because there's an accredited list for the NRL.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much say, just tell me your name. You can do it on your phone, right in front of them. Oh, you're not on the list. You're not supposed to be doing this. Tell me who are you anyway. You know what I mean? Like it's that. But unless you know the list is there and you'll look and check it, then it's like, it can't help you. For anyone coming through, unless you're Ali, that, there is going to be times where you're not going to make teams or you're not going to get picked, right? But I think if this kid come from Fiji and he come over overseas, we won't say where, unless you guys already have, and not be in an environment. Someone actually had to bring him here. So that person should have been his contact, his go-to person. So if the coach isn't giving him reasons as to why he's not being picked, then the person he went with should be able to say, well, you should say that, or even be able to go to the coach. Because for somewhere along the line, someone arranged for someone from Fiji to come and train with this team and potentially get an opportunity to play. So someone organised that. And if you've sort of got, if you know that person put you over, then that person should be able to get you the information if you don't, which is kind of like what agents sort of help a lot of our guys with. The young Pacific guys that are too shy to talk or not sure, then they go back. So everyone gets rejected in this environment. It's an elite sport for a reason, so only the best are going to make it. But for a lot of them, when you get rejected, once they'll give you reasons why. Oh, if you're a winger and you can't catch, you're not going to be in the team. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, listen, go home and practice your catching. No, but that's feedback. Right? Serious. But that's feedback because it's like, and then we can go, okay, sweet, I can go and grow off that and practice and learn and come back even stronger. But if you don't go, so I think that the big thing about rejection is it's not so much rejection, it's probably more just you're just not ready yet because there's a few things you need to work on. If you work on, X, Y, Z, and then, we can look at your 12 months time or whatever. If you're prepared to put in the work, then you're going to benefit from it because okay, sweet, to play this game, I need, these 10 skills. I've got 7. If I work on the other 3, I can get to 10. Now I'm in the mix, and I think that's a big one. Some coaches, for whatever reason, they might do things a bit differently. But if you've come from outside of the area, whether it's a small town or overseas, it's probably best to make sure the person that you're going with or the person you organise it with, you have a strong or comfortable relationship with. Because that's where you're going to go for your answers if you're not getting it from elsewhere.
Yeah, but I guess in that scenario, definitely agree with what Nigel said. But also, the encouragements for the young kids too to ask. I know that but also it may not be, it's not saying that he's not good enough. It's just that he's not the type of player that the coach is looking for, even the coaching staff, so he can move on. I think that's the way you have to look at it. And definitely it is a cutthroat environment. That's why it's high performance. If you don't, perform, then you're out. So I think you definitely have to go in with that mindset. But also in that scenario, man, he needed the support. So hopefully the Blues or Pasifika or the Crusaders can talk.
Well, and Ali made a good point there because not everyone fits certain teams in certain environments. And if you just look at NRL wingers, right, and you got Tupes, right, Tupo out at Roosters, and he's like a giraffe out there, and you got Brian Tuttle at Penrith. They're both wingers, and Tuttle's the same size as this table, but different needs. You know what I mean? Like different needs for different environments, right? So that fits for him. Right, Tuttle going to the Roosters, probably not. But he might have got, Wendell Sailor when he went to the Dragons got rejected, then ended up at the Broncos, and then the man went on and did everything in the game and everything in rugby as well. But his first club at the Dragons, they didn't want him as an 18-year-old. So a lot of guys that are playing now have all been sort of, I don't want to use the word rejected, but they've all sort of had challenges along the way, right? And it's like, well, listen, maybe that's not that's not where you fit, because there's other opportunities for you to fit elsewhere, And like Ali said, the coach might want to play a different way, different style, doesn't suit yours, but another team will go, man, we'll take him because he's exactly what we need. So don't feel like you're not worthy of it. If you believe, that you can get there and you've got the quality to get there, you'll get there. Just got to keep at it. It's just part and parcel of breaking it down as you go along, and it builds resilience. How you bounce back.
Yeah, I think for me, being rejected is also.
When did you get?
No,
when was your team that didn't pick you?
No, but I'm just saying, just through the experiences getting rejected, I think you definitely have to, it's that reality check. To be honest to yourself and see what you can do better, because it's not. I think straight away you could be defensive and point the finger to everyone else, because especially it's a team sport. But I think definitely you got to look at yourself, and also what can you do better. I think that's probably the starting point, and also just push yourself and surround yourself with some good people. Definitely what Nigel said before, hopefully you got parents and people around your support group that are encouraging you and that are building you up. So that'll help big time. And just go to a better team now.
See, he said you've never been rejected.
I have. I said. Oh, that's the way I looked at it, and I guess my faith kind of, helped me out too when you're going through some hard times. That's why I'm speaking, because Nigel has never
Yeah, but they
experienced
say
it.
no. But because Ali started with these quotes. So you know how you got they don't say wins and losses; they say wins and lessons. All right. So if you're being rejected, that might be a lesson that you've got to learn to go on to get your next win. You like that? There is a lot of stuff online now, and they sort of try to keep sort of updating it as much as they can. But a few years ago, they started running parents' workshops at tournaments. So around New Zealand, like the New Zealand League tournaments, like your 16s, 18s, whatever the age group ones are, secondary schools, they'll run workshops there for all the kids. So every kid that's there, I don't know, 20 or 30 teams, whatever it is, they would all do wellbeing workshops on all different things: mental health, resilience, financial awareness, all this sort of stuff. But then they'd also offer it to the staff, the coaches and the trainers and all that. So they all sort of understood, they might be the go-to person for some of these kids to answer questions. And then also for the parents as well, we're offered opportunities to sort of jump in. The biggest challenge, I guess, for the parents, and we spoke about it before, is a lot of them live all over the place, So if you're in Australia and your kids are over there, but your parents are back here because they're looking after the other kids, how do they get there? So I think online will probably be the first stop to sort of be able to sort of check up. And then from there, you just sort of, there's people on there and emails that you can reach out to if you're after any specific info. And that's with regards to New Zealand League stuff and NRL stuff. I think at the end of the day for the parents, man, you just have to continue to love the kids, love your kids, regardless of what happens. If they know that, you're always going to be there for them, that'll sort of potentially help them from going down if they do sort of not make a team or get an injury or sort of, because a lot of the kids won't make it, but everyone dreamed of it since they were 5 years old. For someone to sort of tell you at 17 or 18, it's probably not going to happen. That could be quite crushing. But if they know that they've got those support networks around them with their parents or their families or their uncles or friends or whoever it is that are there for them and they can catch them when they fall, because everyone's got to fall eventually, right? I think that's probably, the key. You can navigate your way through the other stuff, but that stuff will lead you into a pretty sort of downward spiral that, we don't want anyone to go through, So if we can help influence in our environment and the environment that we come through, for some of the parents out there, at the end of the day, and a lot of parents, might have blended families, so they might be sort of living in two different spots, but it's just about, I think, letting the kids know that you're always going to be there for them regardless. So.
Nice. Up to home, eh? See you later.